My name is Rachel Morgan. I'm 29 years old. 6 months ago, I walked into my childhood home for what I thought would be a normal Sunday dinner. Instead, I discovered something that shattered everything I believed about my family. But here's the twist. I'd been hiding something too, something I'd built in secret for 2 years. And that night, I finally decided to use it. Before I tell you what happened, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story speaks to you. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you've ever felt invisible in your own family. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The Morgan family lives in a brick Tudor house in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. 3 bedrooms, a garden my mother tends obsessively, and a kitchen where every Sunday dinner has been served at exactly 6 p.m. for as long as I can remember.
My mother, Linda Morgan, worked as a nurse for 30 years before retiring. She's the kind of woman who keeps everything perfect on the surface: the house, the garden, the family reputation. My father, Robert, still works as an insurance claims adjuster. Quiet, diplomatic, the kind of man who avoids conflict by pretending it doesn't exist. Then there's my brother, Tyler. 3 years older than me, married to Amanda Pierce, a real estate agent whose sales numbers she mentions in every conversation. They have one daughter, a 7-year-old named Emma, and a lifestyle they can barely afford but showcase constantly. New cars, designer clothes, elaborate vacations. All financed by credit cards and my parents' generosity. Me. I work as a freelance graphic designer, mostly from my small apartment downtown. Steady clients, decent income, nothing glamorous by Morgan family standards. But there was something else I did. Something I started 2 years ago after my world fell apart in a completely different way. Something I never told them about. Something that taught me how to really create. Let me show you what being the dependable one looks like in the Morgan family. Every Sunday dinner, I arrive early to help my mother cook. I set the table with her good dishes, the ones I'm expected to handle carefully but never take home. I coordinate side dishes, pour wine, make small talk with relatives who barely remember what I do for a living. Tyler arrives fashionably late with Amanda and Emma. They're greeted like celebrities. My mother rushes to hug them. My father asks about Tyler's latest promotion at the tech company where he works. Amanda shows off a new handbag. Emma gets passed around for kisses. I watch from the kitchen doorway, holding a serving platter. Everyone, Tyler just got promoted to senior project manager. My mother announces proudly to whoever's listening. And Amanda just closed on that waterfront property. Isn't that wonderful? Nobody mentions that I designed the logo for Amanda's real estate company. For free, of course. Family discount. Holidays follow the same pattern. Thanksgiving? I arrive at dawn to prep the turkey while my mother directs me like a sous chef. Tyler's family shows up at noon, relaxed and empty-handed. Christmas? I wrap all the presents because my mother's hands get tired. Tyler contributes a single bottle of wine and gets praised for being thoughtful. Last year, on Emma's 7th birthday, I spent 12 hours organizing a princess-themed party at my parents' house. I made the cake, decorated, ran games, supervised 15 screaming children. Tyler and Amanda? They arrived an hour late because they needed time to get ready. When I suggested I might miss Easter dinner because I had a client deadline, my mother's voice went ice cold. Rachel, family comes first. We all make sacrifices. You can work any time. This only happens once a year. Except I'm the only one who ever seems to sacrifice anything. The breaking point comes in small moments that add up until you can't breathe anymore. Like the Christmas I received my gift, a set of kitchen utensils with a card that read, "For all your help." Tyler gave it to me. Amanda smiled like they'd been so thoughtful. They gave my parents a weekend spa getaway. They gave each other matching designer watches. I got spatulas. I used them. I used them every single time I cooked at my parents' house, which was often, because Rachel's so good in the kitchen, and Rachel doesn't mind helping. Do you want to know when I realized the truth? It hit me on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon while I was updating my mother's computer, again, after she'd called in a panic about losing her files. I was sitting at her desk, recovering documents she hadn't backed up, when I couldn't remember the last time anyone had asked me how I was doing. Not, "Can you help with this?" Or, "Are you free on Sunday?" Just, "How are you, Rachel? How's your life?" I couldn't remember, because it had never happened. 2 years ago, my life fell apart in a different way. I'd been in a relationship with a man named Jason for 3 years. We'd talked about moving in together, about a future. Then one evening, over dinner at a restaurant I'd chosen to celebrate his promotion, he said something I'll never forget. "Rachel, I think we should take a break. You're wonderful, really. But you're just predictable. You never surprise me. It's like dating a checklist. Predictable. Like a schedule. Like background noise." After he left, I wandered into an art supply store downtown. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe something to fill the emptiness. That's when I saw it, a display of digital drawing tablets. Professional grade, on clearance, marked down to $220. I bought it with money I should have saved. I told no one. That tablet became my escape. I started creating illustrations late at night. Not the corporate logos and website graphics I did for clients. Real art. Personal art. I drew women in moments of quiet strength, sitting alone in coffee shops, reading on park benches, working in empty offices at midnight. Women living full lives that nobody noticed. I called the series Unseen Lives. I created an anonymous online portfolio. No real name, no photo, just the art. Over 2 years, I gathered 8,000 followers. People who connected with what I was creating. People who understood. I kept the tablet hidden in my closet, wrapped in an old sweater. It was the only thing that was completely mine. 6 weeks before that fateful Sunday dinner, I received an email I almost deleted as spam. It was from a creative director at a boutique animation studio in Seattle, Cascade Creative. They'd found my portfolio online and wanted to discuss a potential position. Senior character designer. Salary, $85,000 a year, plus benefits and creative freedom on original projects. I stared at that email for 30 minutes, my hands shaking. But I didn't reply. Not yet, because good things didn't happen to people like me. And Seattle was 3 hours away. How could I leave when my family needed me? There's one person who actually sees me. Her name is Claire, and she's my mother's older sister. Aunt Claire is what my mother calls the one who left. 30 years ago, she divorced her husband, sold her house, and moved to Cannon Beach to open a small bookshop and cafe. My mother hasn't fully forgiven her since. Claire gave up a perfectly good marriage, my mother likes to say. She could have worked it out, but she was always selfish. Too independent for her own good. I've been calling Aunt Claire every Thursday evening for 5 years. My mother doesn't know. It was Aunt Claire who first saw my illustrations. I'd sent her one, just one, testing the waters. Her response made me cry. "Rachel, this is breathtaking. You have real talent. Why are you hiding this?" Nobody had ever said I had real talent before. She was the one who encouraged me to keep creating, to post more work. And she was the one who, 6 weeks ago, said something that planted a seed. "Rachel, I saw a position posted at an animation studio in Seattle. They're looking for exactly what you do. Have you ever thought about applying for something like that? About leaving Portland?" I laughed nervously. "I can't leave. My family. Your family will survive without you," she said gently. "The question is, will you survive if you stay?" That night, I replied to Cascade Creative's email. We scheduled a video interview, then a second interview. Then they asked for a portfolio presentation. I didn't tell my family, because if I failed, I didn't want them to know I'd tried. And if I succeeded, I wasn't sure what I'd do. Now let me bring you to the Sunday that changed everything. It was mid-September, a normal weekend. I arrived at my parents' house at 4 p.m. to help with dinner, just like I always did. My mother was in the kitchen, seasoning a roast. My father sat in the living room, watching a football game. Tyler's family hadn't arrived yet. They were always late. "Rachel, can you make the salad?" my mother asked without looking up. "And set the table? Use the good china. Tyler has something important to announce." Something important. Of course he did. I made the salad. I set the table. I folded napkins into the elaborate fans my mother preferred. All while my mother talked about Tyler's accomplishments, Amanda's latest sale, how well Emma was doing in school. She didn't ask about my week. She never did. Tyler's family arrived at 5:45, 15 minutes before dinner. Emma ran in wearing a new dress. Amanda carried a bakery box with dessert, store-bought, but she'd receive credit for bringing something. "Everyone's here," my mother announced cheerfully. "Let's sit down." We gathered around the dining table. My father carved the roast. I poured water into everyone's glasses. Tyler sat at the head of the table, across from my father, like some kind of guest of honor. "So," my father said, smiling at Tyler, "your mother said you have news?" Tyler grinned. Amanda squeezed his hand. We do, Tyler said. Big news, actually. We're moving. My mother gasped with delight. Moving? Where? We bought a house, Amanda said, practically glowing. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, in that new development near the lake. The one with the country club access. That's wonderful, my mother exclaimed. When do you move? 3 weeks, Tyler said. But here's the thing, we're going to need help. Of course they were. The house needs work before we move in, Amanda continued. Painting, deep cleaning, some minor repairs. And then there's the actual moving day. Plus, we'll need help getting Emma settled into her new school routine. Tyler looked directly at me. Rachel, we were hoping you could help us out. You work from home, so your schedule's flexible, right? There it was. That word again. Flexible. Like my time didn't matter. Like I didn't have clients, deadlines, a life. I have projects right now, I said carefully. Several deadlines coming up. Can't you push them back? Amanda asked, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. This is family. It's important. My mother nodded. Rachel, your brother needs you. Surely your clients can wait a week or two. A week or two. They wanted me to drop everything for weeks. I don't think I can. Rachel. My father's voice, usually so quiet, had an edge to it. Your brother has always been there for you. The least you can do is help him with this. Always been there for me? When? When had Tyler ever helped me with anything? But I bit my tongue. I always bit my tongue. We'll figure it out, I said quietly. Tyler smiled. Crisis averted. Amanda squeezed his hand again. Great, Tyler said. I'll send you the details. We're thinking you could come by next weekend to start on the painting. The conversation moved on. My mother asked about furniture. My father suggested contractors. Emma chattered about her new room. Nobody noticed I hadn't actually agreed to anything. After dinner, I volunteered to clean up. Not because I wanted to, because it was expected. I was loading the dishwasher when I heard voices from the living room. My family talking. I should have ignored it. Should have minded my own business. But I heard my name. I froze, my hands in the soapy water. So grateful Rachel's available, my mother was saying. I don't know what we'd do without her. She really doesn't have much else going on, Amanda said. It's not like she has a demanding job or anything. My chest tightened. That's true, my mother agreed. Graphic design, she can do that from anywhere. It's not like she has to be in an office. She's always been the helpful one, Tyler added. Never complains. Makes it easy. Makes it easy. Honestly, Amanda continued, it's kind of perfect. She doesn't have kids, no serious relationship since Jason. She has the time. We're actually doing her a favor, giving her something meaningful to do. Giving me something meaningful to do. The dish I was holding slipped from my hands and clattered into the sink. The voices in the living room went quiet. I didn't move. I stood there, staring at my reflection in the dark kitchen window, soap suds dripping from my hands. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as free labor. As a convenience. As someone whose life was so empty that I should be grateful to fill it with their needs. Something inside me shifted. Not broke, shifted. Like tectonic plates moving before an earthquake. I dried my hands. Walked into the living room. 4 faces turned toward me. Comfortable. Unsuspecting. I heard what you said, I said quietly. My mother's expression flickered. Rachel, we were just... I heard all of it. My voice was steady. Calm. About how I don't have much going on. About how you're doing me a favor. Sweetie, we didn't mean it like that. My mother started. How did you mean it? Silence. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Rachel, come on. Don't be sensitive. Don't be sensitive? I repeated. You just said I make it easy because I never complain. That my life is so empty you're giving me something meaningful to do. Amanda's face flushed. That's not, we just meant. I know exactly what you meant. I looked at each of them. My mother, who'd raised me to be helpful. My father, who'd taught me to be accommodating. My brother, who'd learned he could take without asking. And Amanda, who'd married into a family that would give her everything she wanted. I won't be helping with the move, I said. Tyler's eyebrows shot up. What? You heard me. Find someone else. Rachel, don't be ridiculous, my mother said, her voice hardening. Tyler needs your help. Then Tyler can hire movers. Or Amanda can take time off from work. Or you can help them yourselves. We have lives, Amanda snapped. Busy lives. And I don't. For the first time in my entire life, I raised my voice at my family. I have a life too. I have work that matters, deadlines that matter, time that matters. Just because I'm not married with kids doesn't mean my life is empty. My father stood up. Rachel, that's enough. No, Dad. It's not enough. It's not nearly enough. I grabbed my purse from the chair where I'd left it. Where are you going? My mother demanded. Home. To my meaningless life and my flexible schedule. If you walk out that door, Tyler said, his voice cold, don't expect us to be there when you need something. I stopped at the doorway. Turned back. Tyler, when have you ever been there when I needed something? He had no answer. None of them did. I walked out, got in my car, drove away from that brick Tudor house for what I thought might be the last time. And for the first time in 29 years, I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't go home. I drove to Cannon Beach, 3 hours through the dark, and arrived at Aunt Claire's bookshop at 11 p.m. She was still awake, reading in her apartment above the shop. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't ask questions. She just pulled me inside and made tea. I heard them, I said, sitting at her small kitchen table. Talking about me like I'm nothing. I told her everything. The Sunday dinners, the endless helping, the years of being invisible. And then I told her what they'd said about my flexible schedule, my empty life, how they were doing me a favor. When I finished, Aunt Claire was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What about that job in Seattle?" The animation studio. My throat tightened. I had the final interview 3 days ago. And they offered me the position. Senior character designer. I have until Wednesday to give them an answer. Aunt Claire set down her teacup. Rachel, why haven't you said yes? Because. I struggled to find the words. Because how can I leave? My family. Your family will be fine, she said firmly. They've been fine without truly seeing you for 29 years. They'll manage. But if I leave? If you leave, they'll have to learn how to solve their own problems. Tyler will have to hire movers. Your mother will have to cook her own dinners. Amanda will have to manage her own life. She reached across the table and took my hand. Rachel, I left a marriage everyone told me to stay in. I left a life that looked perfect on the outside. And you know what happened? I built something real. Something mine. This bookshop, this life. It's not glamorous, but it's authentic. Weren't you scared? I whispered. Terrified. But I was more scared of staying. Of becoming someone I didn't recognize. I looked at her. Really looked. Aunt Claire was 60 years old. She had silver hair and laugh lines and hands stained with coffee. She lived alone in a small apartment. She ran a bookshop that barely broke even. And she was the happiest person I knew. What if I fail? I asked. What if you don't? I stayed at Aunt Claire's that night. In the morning, I sat on the beach and watched the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean. I thought about all the Sunday dinners. All the wrapped presents and cleaned kitchens and babysat children. All the times I'd said yes when I meant no. I thought about Jason calling me predictable. About my mother saying my schedule was flexible. About Tyler saying I made it easy. And I thought about Cascade Creative. About drawing characters that would live in stories. About creating something that would matter to more than just my family. At 9 a.m., I pulled out my phone and typed an email. Dear Ms. Patterson, I'm writing to accept the position of Senior Character Designer at Cascade Creative. I can start on October 1st as discussed. Thank you for this opportunity. Best regards, Rachel Morgan. I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I called my landlord and gave notice on my apartment. Month-to-month lease, paid through the end of September. Clean break. The calls started within hours. My mother first. 6 calls. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that escalated from concern to angry. Rachel, where are you? Call me back immediately. Your father and I are very worried. This isn't like you. Tyler told me what happened. You're being incredibly selfish. Call me. If you don't call back, I'm calling the police to do a wellness check. Tyler texted next. Mom's freaking out. Where are you? You really embarrassed us last night. Amanda's upset. You owe her an apology. Fine. Be that way. Don't expect any help from us anymore. I read each message once, then put my phone on silent. On Tuesday evening, I drove back to Portland. Not to apologize, to pack. My apartment was small. 1 bedroom, minimal furniture, most of it secondhand. It took me 2 days to box everything up. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. Not yet. On Wednesday afternoon, my mother showed up unannounced. I heard her knocking as I was taping up my last box. Rachel, I know you're in there. Open this door. I considered not answering. But I'd been avoiding confrontation my whole life. Maybe it was time to stop. I opened the door. My mother stood in the hallway, dressed in her usual careful way, pressed slacks, a cardigan, pearl earrings. But her face was tight with anger. 3 days, she said, pushing past me into the apartment. 3 days of silence. Do you have any idea how worried? She stopped, stared at the boxes. What is this? I'm moving. Moving? Moving where? Seattle. I accepted a job. I start Monday. The color drained from her face. Seattle? That's 3 hours away. I know. Rachel, you can't be serious. What about Sunday dinners? What about helping Tyler move? What about me? I interrupted. When were you going to ask what I wanted? This is ridiculous. You're throwing a tantrum over nothing. Mom, I heard what you said. That I don't have much going on. That you're giving me something meaningful to do. She had the grace to look uncomfortable. We were just talking. You took it out of context. What context makes that okay? Silence. I've spent 29 years being helpful, I said quietly. Being available. Being the one who never complains. And you know what I realized? You don't actually see me. You see what I can do for you. That's not true. We love you. Do you? Because love asks questions. Love shows interest. Love doesn't just take. My mother's jaw tightened. If you do this, if you move away, don't expect us to support you. I don't, I said. I haven't expected that for a long time. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. You'll regret this, she said finally, her voice cold. You'll end up alone like Claire. Is that what you want? I thought about Aunt Claire's bookshop. Her beach view. Her peaceful life built on her own terms. If that's what being alone looks like, I said, then yes. That's exactly what I want. My mother left without another word. The next morning, I loaded my car. Boxes, suitcases, my drawing tablet carefully wrapped in blankets. Everything I owned fit in a 10-year-old Honda. My phone buzzed with one last text from Tyler. You're making a mistake. Don't come crying to us when this falls apart. I deleted it. Then I put my car in drive and headed north on I-5 toward Seattle. 3 hours through green forests and gray skies. 3 hours of leaving behind the life I'd been living for everyone else. Somewhere near Olympia, I pulled over at a rest stop, sat in my car, and cried, not from sadness but from relief. From the overwhelming sensation of finally choosing myself. Seattle was rain and possibility. I arrived on a Thursday evening and moved into a studio apartment in Capitol Hill. Small, but it was mine. Hardwood floors, a window overlooking the street, and most importantly, no history. No memories of who I used to be. Cascade Creative's office was in a converted warehouse in South Lake Union. Glass walls, open workspace, a break room with a coffee bar, and a wall covered in concept art from projects past. On my first day, the creative director, Samantha Patterson, gave me a tour and introduced me to the team. 8 designers, 3 animators, 2 writers. Everyone around my age. Everyone passionate about their work. We're developing an animated series, Samantha explained, showing me storyboards pinned to a wall. It's about a group of women navigating life in their 30s. Real stories, complex characters. We need someone who can bring emotional depth to the character designs. She handed me a character brief. This is Maya. She's the main character. Mid-30s, works in tech, struggling with feeling invisible at work and in her family. We want her to feel real, not like a cartoon, but like someone viewers will recognize. I stared at the brief. A woman who felt invisible. I knew exactly how to draw her. The first month was a blur of learning. New software, new team dynamics, new creative processes. I worked long hours, but not because anyone demanded it, because I wanted to. Because for the first time in my life, my work felt meaningful. I drew Maya. I drew her tired eyes and her genuine smile. I drew the way she held herself smaller in meetings, the way she lit up when she was alone with her sketchbook. I drew every version of invisibility I'd ever felt. Samantha called me into her office after I submitted the first designs. Rachel, she said, studying the drawings on her screen. These are extraordinary. You didn't just design a character. You gave her a soul. Nobody had ever said anything like that about my work. The team loves them, she continued. We want you to lead character design for the whole series. All 8 main characters. It means more responsibility and a raise, $95,000 starting next month. I walked out of that office and had to sit in the bathroom for 5 minutes, just breathing. A raise. Recognition. Value. Proof that I wasn't nothing. That I'd never been nothing. My new life had a rhythm. I woke at 6 a.m. and walked to a coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd work at Cascade until 6 p.m., then come home to my studio where I'd spend evenings on personal projects. Illustrations I posted to my growing online following. I made friends. Real friends. Colleagues who invited me to happy hours. A neighbor named Jessica who worked at a bookstore and introduced me to her book club. People who asked about my life, my art, my thoughts. People who saw me. I called Aunt Claire every Sunday evening. Our conversations replaced the Sunday dinners I used to dread. "How's Seattle?" she'd ask. "Rainy. Wonderful. Real. Good." That's exactly what it should be. I didn't call my family. They didn't call me either. Until they did. 3 months after I moved, my phone rang on a Tuesday evening. My father's number. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. "Hello. Rachel." His voice was formal, uncomfortable. "Your mother wanted me to call." Of course she did. She'd never call herself. "Hi, Dad. We wanted to check in. See how you're doing." "I'm good. Really good, actually." Silence on the line. "Tyler and Amanda moved into their new house," he said finally. "That's nice. They hired movers. It was expensive. More than we thought." I didn't respond to the implied criticism. "Your mother misses you at Sunday dinners." "Does she?" "Rachel, don't be like that." "Like what?" "Honest." He sighed. "She wants you to come home for Thanksgiving. The whole family will be there." "Thanksgiving. 6 weeks away." "I don't think I can," I said carefully. "I have work commitments." "It's Thanksgiving. Surely they'll give you time off." "I could get time off." "I don't want to come." The words hung in the air. "True. Final. Your mother won't like that." "Dad, has Mom asked how I'm doing? What my job is like? Whether I'm happy?" Silence. "She hasn't, has she?" "Rachel, you know how your mother is. She's not good at emotions. She's good at them when it's about Tyler." He had no answer to that. "I'm not coming for Thanksgiving," I said gently. "But thank you for calling." I hung up before he could argue. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I got a text from Tyler. "Mom says you're not coming for Thanksgiving." "Seriously?" I didn't respond. Another text came an hour later. "Amanda's pregnant again. Mom's throwing a celebration dinner. You should be here." "Congratulations," I typed back. "I hope everything goes well with the pregnancy." "That's it? That's all you have to say?" "What do you want me to say, Tyler?" "I want you to stop being selfish and come home. Mom's really hurt. I'm not coming back to be free labor. If you want me there as family, as an equal, that's different. But I don't think that's what you're offering." He didn't respond. Thanksgiving week arrived. Cascade Creative closed for 4 days. Most of my coworkers went home to see family. I stayed in Seattle. Jessica invited me to Friendsgiving at her apartment. 12 people crowded around a table, potluck dishes, wine, laughter. People who'd chosen to build family rather than relying on the one they were born into. "To chosen family," someone toasted. We all raised our glasses. I posted a photo to my Instagram that night. Not the anonymous portfolio, my personal account. The table, the friends, the life I'd built. My mother called within an hour. "You're having Thanksgiving with strangers?" Her voice was sharp with hurt and anger. "Instead of with your real family? These people see me, Mom. They ask about my life. They care about my work. That's more real than anything I had in Portland. How dare you? I have to go. Happy Thanksgiving." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I didn't feel guilty. The series premiered in January. Unseen. 8 episodes about women navigating modern life, featuring the characters I'd designed. My name appeared in the credits, character design by Rachel Morgan. The reviews were incredible. Critics praised the emotionally resonant character designs and authentic visual storytelling. Samantha called me into her office the day after the premiere. "We've been contacted by 3 studios wanting to discuss future projects. They specifically asked about you. Your work on this series has put you on the map, Rachel." "On the map. Visible. Seen. There's something else," she continued. Pacific Northwest Magazine wants to do a feature on emerging artists in animation. They want to interview you. Profile your work, your process. A magazine profile. My story, my art, my name. They'll send a photographer next week." I walked out of that office and called Aunt Claire. "They want to interview me," I said. "For a magazine." "Of course they do. Because you're talented. Because your work matters. I was so scared to leave, I whispered. I know, but you did it anyway. That's what courage is. The article came out in March. My photo on the cover, professional, confident, someone I barely recognized as myself. The headline read, Rachel Morgan, designing characters with soul. The article told my story. Not all of it. I'd been careful about what I shared. But enough. The family who didn't see me. The move to Seattle. The courage it took to choose myself. The morning the magazine hit stands, I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Amanda. Tyler and I saw your article. We need to talk. They showed up unannounced. It was a Saturday afternoon in late March. I was working in my studio apartment, sketching character variations for a new project, when my building's intercom buzzed. Delivery, a familiar voice said. But it wasn't a delivery. It was Tyler. I should have refused to let him up. Should have told him to leave. But some old instinct, the one trained over 29 years, made me press the button. 60 seconds later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find not just Tyler, but Amanda and my mother. 3 faces. 3 people who'd driven 3 hours without warning. Surprise, Tyler said, though his tone wasn't friendly. My mother pushed past me into the apartment, looking around like she was inspecting a crime scene. Amanda followed, her pregnant belly visible under her coat. Tyler came last, closing the door behind him. Nice place, my mother said, though her voice suggested otherwise. Small. It's enough for me, I said carefully. What are you doing here? We read your article, Amanda said, pulling a copy of Pacific Northwest magazine from her bag. My face smiled from the cover. We need to talk about what you said. My stomach tightened. I didn't use anyone's names. I changed details. Everyone knows it's about us, Tyler snapped. Our friends, Mom's book club, people at church. Everyone's asking questions. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Embarrassing for who? For all of us, my mother said, her voice rising. You made us sound like terrible people. Like we didn't love you. Did you? The question came out quieter than I intended. Did you love me, or did you love what I could do for you? Silence filled my small apartment. Amanda spoke first, her hand on her belly. Rachel, I'm pregnant. I'm due in September. I need help, real help, and you're my sister-in-law. Family helps family. I'm not coming back to Portland, I said. We're not asking you to move back, Tyler said, his tone shifting to something almost reasonable. Almost. We're asking you to visit more. To be present. Amanda's going to need support after the baby comes. Hire a postpartum doula. We can't afford that right now. Yes, you can. You bought a 4-bedroom house. You have 2 car payments. You can afford help. Tyler's jaw clenched. So you're just going to abandon your family? Abandon your niece and nephew? I haven't abandoned anyone. I send birthday gifts. I video call Emma. But I'm not going to drop my life every time you need something. Your life? Amanda's voice turned sharp. Drawing cartoons? That's what's more important than family. Drawing cartoons. 29 years of being diminished, and here it was again. The assumption that what I did wasn't real work, wasn't valuable, wasn't worth protecting. I design characters for animated series, I said evenly. I lead a design team. I make $95,000 a year doing work that matters to me. Yes, that's important. My mother's eyes widened. 95,000? It was the first time she'd looked truly surprised. You're making that much? Tyler asked, something like envy crossing his face. I am, because I'm good at what I do. But none of you ever asked about my work. You assumed I was doing nothing important because I wasn't married with kids. That's not fair, my mother said. We always supported you. When? When did you support me? We let you come to Sunday dinners. We included you in holidays. You let me cook your meals and clean your dishes. That's not inclusion, Mom. That's delegation. The words hung in the air. True. Undeniable. Amanda tried a different approach. Rachel, I'm sorry if we made you feel used. Really. But can't we move past this? Can't you just forgive us and come back? Come back to what? To being invisible? To having my time treated as worthless? We won't do that anymore, Tyler said, though his voice lacked conviction. We'll be better. Will you? I looked at each of them. Because you didn't come here to apologize. You came here to make me feel guilty. You came here because that magazine article embarrassed you, not because you actually care how I'm doing. My mother's face flushed. How dare you suggest? Mom, I held up my hand. In the 6 months since I moved to Seattle, how many times have you called to ask about my life? Not to ask me for something, just to ask how I am. She opened her mouth. Closed it. 0, I said. The answer is 0. We've been busy, Tyler said defensively. Everyone's busy, but people make time for the relationships that matter to them. I want to show you something, I said. I walked to my desk and picked up a framed illustration, one I'd drawn in my first week in Seattle. It showed a woman walking away from a house, suitcases in hand, the sun rising ahead of her. This is called leaving, I said. I drew it the day after I moved. It's about a woman who spent her whole life being what everyone else needed her to be. And one day, she decided to find out who she actually was. I handed it to my mother. She stared at it, her face unreadable. That's me, I said quietly. That's who I've become. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who won't accept less than she deserves. So that's it. Amanda's voice cracked. You're just cutting us off? I'm not cutting you off. I'm setting boundaries. If you want to be in my life, it has to be different. You have to see me as a person, not as free help. You have to respect my time, my work, my choices. And if we can't do that, Tyler asked, then I guess we don't have a relationship. The words settled between us like snow. My mother set down the illustration. When she looked at me, her eyes were wet. I don't know how to do this, she said, her voice small. I don't know how to have the relationship you want. It was the first honest thing she'd said. Then maybe it's time to learn, I said gently. Or maybe it's time to accept that some relationships aren't meant to be fixed. You sound just like Claire, my mother whispered. Cold. Selfish. No, Mom. I sound like someone who finally learned to love herself. They left 20 minutes later. No yelling, no tears, just quiet resignation. Tyler muttered something about wasting the drive. Amanda couldn't meet my eyes. My mother paused at the door, looking like she wanted to say something, but didn't. The door closed behind them. I stood in my apartment, surrounded by my art, my life, my choices. And I felt nothing but peace. 6 months later. The second series launched in September. I'd been promoted to lead character designer with a team of 4 reporting to me. Salary, $115,000. Aunt Claire came to visit for the premiere party. We watched the first episode together in my apartment. Larger now, a 1-bedroom with actual furniture I'd chosen myself. I'm proud of you, she said as the credits rolled, my name prominent on screen. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. You just needed permission to try. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I'd saved but never called. Hi, Rachel. This is Dad. I watched your show tonight. It's beautiful. You're very talented. I'm sorry I never told you that before. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, thank you. That means a lot. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. 1 year later, I was in a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, sketching in my notebook, when a young woman approached my table. Excuse me, she said nervously. Are you Rachel Morgan? The character designer. I looked up. She was maybe 23, with a portfolio bag slung over her shoulder. I am. I just graduated from art school. I've been following your work for a year. Your characters, they feel so real. Like you actually understand what it's like to be overlooked. I do understand, I said. I lived it. The article you did, the one about leaving your family to pursue your dreams, it changed my life. I was living at home, working at my dad's business, doing what everyone expected. But after I read your story, I applied to studios in LA. I got an internship. I'm moving next month. She was glowing with terror and hope. I just wanted to say thank you for showing me it was possible. After she left, I sat with my coffee and thought about the last year, the series that had won awards, the team I was building, the life I was living on my own terms, the family that existed now at a distance, texts on holidays, video calls every few months. Better, healthier, but different. My mother still didn't fully understand. Tyler and Amanda kept their distance, though they'd hired a nanny for their 3 children. My father sent occasional texts, brief, awkward, but genuine. It wasn't the family I'd been born into, but it was honest. And I'd learned something important. You don't owe anyone your life. Not your family, not your friends, not anyone. Your life is yours to build, yours to protect, yours to live. From a psychological perspective, what I experienced is called family role rigidity. When family members are locked into specific roles that serve the system, not the individual. I was cast as the helper, the flexible one, the one whose needs didn't matter. And I played that role until it almost destroyed me. Here's what I want you to understand. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. Walking away isn't selfish. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for others, is to stop enabling dysfunction. If you're in a situation like mine, remember this. Your worth isn't measured by how useful you are to others. It's inherent. It was always there. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight back or convince people to see you. It's to walk away and build a life where you're already seen. You deserve that. We all do. The people who truly love you won't ask you to shrink. They'll celebrate when you grow. And if your family can't do that, then maybe it's time to find people who can. Because at the end of the day, the only person you're guaranteed to spend your entire life with is yourself. Make sure that person is someone you're proud to be.